Time was running out. The cavern's ancient defenses wouldn't hold forever against combined human and shut-off technology. Sarah and Lyra faced an impossible choice: risk everything on one desperate gamble, or watch both their civilizations fall to darkness. Through their joined minds, they reached a decision. The beacon would be their last resort. But first, they had to show humanity the truth. Lyra's ability to share memories could expose the Shadoth deception, but only if they could reach those in power before the hunters breached their sanctuary. As the cavern walls trembled under the assault above, Sarah and Lyra prepared for their final stand. The fate of two civilizations would depend not on weapons or technology, but on their ability to make humanity understand what was truly at stake. The ancient cavern's defenses failed as combined Shadoth, and human forces breached the outer chambers. Sarah and Lyra stood before the quantum beacon, their minds linked in desperate unity. Through their bond, they formulated a plan that would change the course of both their civilizations. Instead of activating the beacon, Lyra channeled her energy into the cavern's crystal matrix, creating a massive telepathic network. As military forces poured in, they found themselves caught in a web of shared consciousness. Every soldier, scientist, and government official present suddenly experienced the truth: the luminaries' history, the Shadoth's deception, and the potential future that awaited both species. The Shadoth, realizing their manipulation had been exposed, revealed their true forms. Their crystalline bodies, twisted and dark, began absorbing energy from everything around them, including their human allies. The betrayal was immediate and absolute. In that moment of crisis, humanity's greatest strength emerged: the ability to adapt and unite against a common threat. Military forces turned on the Shadoth, while scientists quickly grasped the potential of luminary technology. The cavern became a battlefield where human weapons merged with light-based power. Sarah's understanding of the desert's geology proved crucial. She directed the military to strategic points where concentrated fire could trigger targeted cave-ins, trapping the Shadoth in pockets of complete darkness that negated their energy-absorbing abilities. Lyra, drawing strength from the ancient outpost's crystals, created a barrier of pure light energy. The combined human luminary defense forced the Shadoth into retreat, but victory came at a cost. The massive energy expenditure had nearly depleted both the outpost's power and Lyra's own reserves. As the dust settled, Earth's leaders faced an unprecedented decision. The Shadoth would return, better prepared and more numerous. Humanity could hide behind its newfound luminary defenses, or they could take a bolder step into the galactic community. Sarah and Lyra stood together as humanity made its choice. The quantum beacon was activated, not as a desperate call for help, but as an invitation. Earth would become more than a sanctuary for the luminary. It would be the foundation of a new alliance. The signal pulsed outward through space, carrying with it humanity's first unified message to the stars. They had faced the darkness and chosen light. As the luminary fleet emerged from deep space, appearing like new stars in Earth's sky, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come from that first meeting in the desert. Through their mental link, Lyra shared a final vision, not of the past, but of the future. Human ingenuity combined with luminary technology would transform both civilizations. The desert that had once hidden their first contact would become the site of Earth's first light-based city, a beacon of hope visible from orbit. The Shadoth had sought to prevent an alliance between humans and luminary, but their actions had instead guaranteed it. As dawn broke over the desert, its light reflecting off crystalline structures rising from the sand, a new chapter in galactic history began, written not in darkness, but in light. The chase led them through a maze of abandoned mine shafts. Sarah's knowledge of the terrain proved invaluable. She knew which tunnels were stable, which would collapse under stress. The Shadoth's superior biology meant little in this human-made labyrinth. As they ran, Lyra shared more of her mission through hurried mental contacts. She carried within her crystalline form the combined genetic memory of her people, their history, their technology, their very essence. If the Shadoth captured her, they would gain not just another power source, but the knowledge to prevent the luminary from ever rebuilding. The tunnels eventually opened into a vast underground cavern. Here, Sarah revealed the second part of her plan. The cavern's walls were lined with phosphorescent minerals, ordinarily a subtle glow, but when Lyra channeled her energy through them, they'd erupted in brilliant light. The Shadoth burst into the cavern only to find themselves surrounded by blinding luminescence amplified and reflected from every direction. Their light-absorbing abilities, usually an advantage, became a liability. They couldn't process the overwhelming energy fast enough. Sarah had turned the hunter's own biology against them. In the confusion, she and Lyra escaped through a hidden passage, leaving their pursuers trapped in a cage of light. But both knew this was only a temporary victory. The Shadoth would recover, and the government teams were still searching above. As they emerged under the stars, Lyra shared a final memory, a vision of her people's last stronghold, hidden on a distant moon. She had to reach them before the Shadoth discovered its location. Earth's fate was now entwined with the luminary's survival, for if the Shadoth succeeded here, they would have a new world of resources to exploit. Sarah checked her GPS coordinates. They were close to something she'd discovered years ago, but never reported, something that might give them a fighting chance. But reaching it would mean crossing open desert, exposed to both human and alien hunters. As the first hints of dawn colored the horizon, she knew their next move would determine the fate of two worlds. Deep beneath the desert's surface, Sarah led Lyra through a natural cavern she discovered years ago during a geological survey. Its walls were lined with crystals unlike anything she'd documented elsewhere, crystals that seemed to resonate with Lyra's presence. Through their mental connection, Lyra revealed the truth. These crystals were not native to Earth. They were remnants of an ancient luminary outpost established millennia ago when her people first explored this galaxy. The outpost had been abandoned and forgotten, but its technology remained dormant, waiting. As Lyra approached the crystalline formations, they began to pulse with light, responding to her biosignature. The cavern transformed into a vast chamber of living light, holographic displays flickering to life after eons of silence. Through these ancient records, Sarah learned the full scope of the crisis threatening both their worlds. The Shadoth weren't just hunting luminary for power. They were systematically destroying every trace of their civilization's technology. Each luminary they captured strengthened their ability to track others. Their ultimate goal was to prevent the spread of luminary influence across the galaxy, seeing their light-based technology as a threat to their own dark evolution. But the Shadoth hadn't counted on finding Earth or humans. The ancient outpost contained records of humanity's potential. The luminary had seen something in early humans that resonated with their own nature. They had watched, waited, hoping humanity would evolve into allies rather than subjects. The cavern's technology offered a solution, but one requiring tremendous sacrifice. The outpost contained a quantum beacon, capable of summoning the luminary fleet hidden in deep space, but activating it would reveal Earth's location to both allies and enemies. Through their deepening mental bond, Sarah felt Lyra's conflict. The princess carried not just her people's memories, but their hopes for survival. Using the beacon meant risking everything: her life, her people's secrecy, and potentially Earth itself. As they debated their options, the cavern sensors detected movement above. The Shadoth had found them, and with them came human military forces. The hunters had revealed themselves to Earth's governments, offering advanced technology in exchange for help capturing Lyra. Sarah realized with growing dread that humanity's first official contact with alien life had been with the wrong side. The Shadoth were manipulating human fear and greed, presenting the luminary as threats while concealing their own parasitic nature. As dawn broke over Sarah's remote desert cabin, she watched her alien guest studying the sunrise with evident fascination. After 3 days of hiding, they had developed a rudimentary system of communication. The being, who had conveyed through mental images that she was called Lyra, possessed an extraordinary ability to share thoughts and memories through touch. Lyra's injuries were healing at an astonishing rate, her crystalline skin knitting itself back together. Each day revealed new aspects of her biology that defied Earth science. She required no food, seemingly drawing energy directly from sunlight through her translucent outer layer. Their breakthrough in communication came when Sarah showed Lyra her laptop's scientific database. The alien's eyes lit up with recognition at the mathematical formulas. Within hours, they had established a common language through equations and universal constants. Lyra began learning English at an exponential rate, absorbing information with unprecedented speed. Through their growing understanding, Sarah learned fragments of Lyra's story. She was indeed a princess, though the concept translated poorly across species. Her people, the Luminary, were not ruled by hereditary monarchy, but by those who could channel the most energy through their crystalline forms. Lyra's abilities marked her as a potential future leader. But her people were in danger. A rival species, the Shadowth, had discovered that luminary bodies could be harvested for immense power. The Shadowth's invasion had forced Lyra to flee, carrying with her something vital to her civilization's survival. The exact nature of this cargo remained unclear, but its importance radiated through every shared memory. Sarah's scientific curiosity warred with her growing emotional investment. Each mental contact left her more certain that helping Lyra was crucial, not just for the Luminary, but potentially for humanity's future. The mathematical and scientific knowledge Lyra possessed could advance Earth's technology by centuries. Their peaceful isolation ended when Sarah's instruments detected approaching vehicles. Through their mental link, Lyra conveyed terror. The Shadowth had followed her to Earth. But when Sarah peered through her binoculars, she saw unmarked black SUVs. Government agents had finally tracked them down. Sarah had minutes to make a decision. She couldn't let Lyra fall into the hands of either Earth governments or alien hunters. The fate of two civilizations might depend on what she did next. Drawing on her years of desert survival training, she formulated a desperate plan. As the vehicles approached, Sarah activated the emergency beacon in her survey equipment. The distress signal would draw attention, but not before they made their escape. She led Lyra to the concealed all-terrain vehicle she kept for emergencies, their minds linked in shared purpose. The desert held 1,000 places to hide if you knew them well enough. Sarah had spent 2 decades mapping these canyons and caves. They would need every bit of that knowledge to stay ahead of their pursuers. As they sped away from the cabin, Lyra shared another memory. This time of hope, of trust in her human protector. Sarah gripped the steering wheel tighter, her jaw set with determination. She had become part of something larger than herself, larger than humanity, and she would not fail. The desert night concealed Sarah and Lyra as they sheltered in an abandoned mining tunnel. Their pursuers had split into 2 groups, the government teams searching methodically from the air, and something else, something that moved through the darkness with predatory purpose. Sarah's equipment detected unusual energy signatures approaching their position. Through their mental link, Lyra confirmed her worst fears. Shadowth hunters had reached Earth. Their crystalline biology, twisted and dark compared to the Luminary's light-based essence, made them perfect trackers. They could sense Lyra's energy signature like a beacon. The Shadowth hunters appeared at the tunnel's entrance, tall, angular beings with obsidian skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their movements were liquid, smooth, predatory. Through Lyra's memories, Sarah understood what they were seeing. Living weapons, engineered over generations for hunting Luminary. But the hunters hadn't counted on human ingenuity. Sarah had spent the previous day setting up an elaborate system of mirrors and solar panels around the tunnel entrance. As the first Shadowth crossed the threshold, she activated the array. Concentrated sunlight, stored in makeshift batteries, burst forth in a blinding flash. The Shadowth recoiled, their light-absorbing bodies overwhelmed by the sudden energy surge. The disruption was temporary, but it gave Sarah and Lyra the opening they needed. They fled deeper into the tunnel network, following a route Sarah had mapped years ago. The Nevada desert shimmered under the merciless afternoon sun as Sarah Chen adjusted her geological survey equipment. 20 years with the USGS hadn't prepared her for what she was about to discover. Her instruments had been detecting unusual electromagnetic signatures all morning, far stronger than the typical mineral deposits she was meant to be mapping. The readings led her to a narrow canyon, hidden between towering red cliffs. As she navigated her rugged survey vehicle through the winding passage, the equipment's steady beeping grew more insistent. The canyon opened into a secluded valley, and Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Before her lay a craft unlike anything human hands had built. Its sleek silver hull, nearly 3 stories tall, was partially buried in the sand. The vessel's design defied conventional aerodynamics, with curves and angles that seemed to bend the desert light around them. Despite the obvious damage from its crash landing, it maintained an ethereal beauty that spoke of technology far beyond Earth's current capabilities. Sarah's hands trembled as she reached for her satellite phone. But before she could make the call, movement caught her eye. A figure emerged from behind the wreckage, tall, graceful, and decidedly not human. The being's skin had a subtle crystalline quality that reflected the sunlight in impossible ways. Its features were hauntingly beautiful, yet alien enough to send a shiver down Sarah's spine. The creature's eyes met hers, displaying an intelligence that transcended species barriers. It took a halting step forward, clearly injured, before collapsing into the sand. Sarah's scientific training warred with her human instincts. Protocol dictated immediate notification of the authorities, but something in those eyes had spoken to her on a deeper level. She made her decision. Sarah grabbed her first aid kit and approached the fallen visitor. As she drew closer, she noticed the being's skin was marked with intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with internal light. The alien's breathing was labored, but steady. Up close, Sarah could see that what she had initially taken for clothing was actually a layer of translucent, scale-like armor that had been damaged in the crash. The alien reached out with a 6-fingered hand, touching Sarah's arm. Instantly, her mind filled with images, a distant world of crystal spires and purple skies, a desperate escape from dark ships, a mission of vital importance. The contact lasted only seconds, but it left Sarah gasping. The being had just attempted communication through some form of telepathic contact. Sarah's decision to help became even firmer. She couldn't understand everything the alien had tried to show her, but the urgency and desperation had been clear. This wasn't just a crashed pilot. This was someone running from something, someone who needed protection. As she began treating the alien's visible injuries with her limited supplies, Sarah's mind raced through the implications. There would be no keeping this quiet forever. Eventually, someone else would discover them. But perhaps she could buy enough time to establish trust, to understand why this being had come to Earth. The sun was setting now, painting the desert in deep oranges and purples. Sarah knew she had to get the alien to shelter before nightfall. The desert's dramatic temperature swings could be deadly to a human, let alone an injured alien life form. Her survey vehicle would be cramped, but it would have to do. As she helped the being to its feet, supporting its weight, Sarah felt the weight of history on her shoulders. She was about to become humanity's first true ambassador to an alien civilization, for better or worse. And something told her that her decision here, in this hidden valley, would have consequences far beyond anything she could imagine. The alien's skin pulsed with a soft blue light as she helped it into her vehicle. Through another brief mental touch, Sarah understood that this was a sign of trust or gratitude. She nodded, trying to convey her own trustworthiness through body language that she hoped would translate across species. As she drove carefully back through the canyon, Sarah glanced at her passenger. The being had entered a state that seemed like meditation, its crystalline features reflecting the last rays of the setting sun. She had no idea what challenges lay ahead, but she knew one thing with certainty. Humanity's place in the universe was about to change forever.